What's up, everyone? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and here we go again. So, Borderlands, the Handsome Collection, which includes Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel, which is essentially Borderlands 2.5, yet set before Borderlands 2. It was their way of being ironic with all sequels and prequels and all this shit, but it released on the Xbox One and PS4 the other day with a shitty frame rate. Why am I not surprised? Now, who's to blame for this? Is it Sony and Microsoft for having underpowered consoles? Which is a fact, by the way. Don't let any of the fanboys or the marketing spin tell you otherwise. Is it the issue of Gearbox, or, well, I shouldn't say Gearbox, it's two different companies handled the different ports, so is it the fault of the two companies that handle the ports for just being lazy? Is it, is it coming from higher up to force out a game? Because these games had like 8 and 12 gig day one patches. Now, fair enough, most of it was DLC, but there was a lot of bug fixes and stuff in there as well. So, that does it too. Now, who is to blame? There's tons of people that could blame. But this video isn't specifically about the Handsome Collection and a shitty frame rate. It's more so about broken games on release again. Or even post-release when stuff gets broken. Because the Handsome Collection is just one specific aspect. I'm not even going to touch on Halo because that's a whole other ball game. But let's look at some of the other games recently. Bloodborne released on PS4 with dire loading times. Digital Foundry did an in-depth analysis, and they were up to 54.4 seconds as the highest loading time. And mind you, with a stock PS4 hard drive, they averaged in around the high 30s to mid 40s as the loading times. There was one or two that were sub 30 seconds. There was one or two that were above, like, say, 45. But the majority of them were coming in around the high 30s to mid 40s. Which is bollocks. And don't you fanboys, don't get on me and say, oh, it's so detailed, it's so amazing, nothing could do it. No, it's not even. Stop. Just kill yourself. But that's another game, Bloodborne. And now let's look at a different one. GTA 5 on current gen consoles. I won't even call them what I was going to call them. GTA 5 on current gen consoles. PS4, Xbox One. A patch came out the other day that actually, be it accidentally or whatever, downgraded the graphics. So, I'm not sure if it's unconfirmed if something was broken, something was done purposely, but no one told anyone till it was found out. Who the fuck knows these days with all this shit? I won't even call it an honourable mention, I'll give it a quick nod. Ubisoft have done this before with Far Cry 4 because the console versions were nigh unplayable at first, so they had to nerf some of the lighting effects to actually get a proper playable frame rate on the current gen consoles. I don't know about the last gen consoles, but it was mainly hyped up against the current gen ones because, like I said a minute ago, the PS4 and the Xbox One are fairly underpowered, and optimize all you want, there's only so much you're getting out of them until your frame rate is all over the place. So I'll throw in another little aspect of it as well. Now, I know because of, say, internet latency, which is very, very minor in these cases, although it is Sony service, which means they're never fucking up, but Bloodborne multiplayer, sections that were playing at 30 FPS, which the game is locked at 30 FPS. Well, it has a cap of 30 FPS, but it fairly regularly drops below it. In multiplayer, I know it has to compute the other person and render all their movements and all this kind of shit, and it's more computational power and blah blah blah, but in the same situations, it's dropping to sub 20 FPS. Now, we're supposed to be in the 8th generation of consoles, and even new games, not just remakes and remasters, which are still being fairly poorly for the most part. A couple of exceptions I'll go over in a minute. I mean, what are they doing? I mean, Jesus Christ, I'm not looking forward to the rest of this generation at this rate. Between sub 1080p games, between sub 30/sub 30 FPS games at under 1080p, and not to mention remasters galore, most of which don't even hit full 1080p 60 FPS. Omission of basic features, mainly looking at you PS4 in anisotropic filtering, but I don't know, you seem to have some mad issue with that a lot of the time. I mean, developers need to get a handle on what they can actually do. Now, I think 60 FPS should be the standard for console games, for all the stuff the developers should be looking for. Now, I know some people are going to be fanboys and they're going to be like, oh, Q, there's no difference, 30 FPS, 60 FPS, it's not a first-person shooter. It doesn't matter. It makes every game better. I've played almost every different type and genre of game, and 60 FPS has improved every single one of them. It's that simple. Role-playing games, MMOs, FPS, I don't play racing games, third-person shooters, adventure games, there's so many of them, and 60 FPS minimum benefits all of them. Obviously, if you can bump up a higher resolution and kick in 60 FPS, do that, because that's going to make it even better. But what these companies are doing is they're turning all the settings up as high as they can. Fuck the resolution. Usually that even doesn't even end up at 1080p. It usually ends up at less. So they turn all the settings up, get a frame rate that's usually mid to high 20s. Maybe, if they're lucky, they can lock it in at 30. And they just go from there. They don't even consider some of the other stuff. Now, because this is the supposed next generation of consoles, it's just not good enough. Because they think people just want all these visuals, and they let the gameplay suffer because of it. I don't know about you, but if the game isn't good and the gameplay is shit, I'm not making it through a good game, regardless of how, quote, much of a masterpiece, unquote, it is. Because it's just bullshit, and get a fucking grip on it, development studios, and stop fucking remastering games, for that matter, actually. Now, like I said a little minute ago, some games have been remastered fairly well. The Last of Us remastered was an exceptional remaster as far as remasters go, because that game held 60 FPS for me about 98% of the time, maybe 99% of the time. There was a couple of little scenes where it dropped, but it was still fairly high. We're talking high 40s, low 50s. So it was still fairly high. Tomb Raider, for example, that was a bad remaster from what I hear. Everyone complaining that the frame rate was all over the place. It wasn't locked at 60. Well, there was a cap at 60, but it just never even got near there. Sleeping Dogs, I hear, is very similar. Now we have the Borderlands issue, the Devil May Cry one, or DMC, whatever you want to say. That's been hitting. It has a cap of 60 FPS, which it maintains a decent amount of the time from what I hear. I mean, you're talking, I don't know, maybe 75% of the time, and depending on the platform you're playing on, it drops even lower. Assassin's Creed Unity isn't really a port, but that's just a whole fucking piece of shit as it is. You're looking at sub 20 FPS in certain situations, and it's, my God, what are these companies and these developers being paid so much money for if they just churn out the same broken, half-assed shit that they say that they'll fix post-launch? And just as a single last little note, I'm going to throw it in. I know I said I wouldn't touch on it for the most part, but this is just a quick little thing. Halo the Master Chief Collection. I'm not even going to go into the matchmaking broken side of it, but it's just when you look at all the frame rate and all the resolution and all that kind of shit, Halo 2 didn't even run at proper full HD in order to achieve 60 FPS, which it doesn't hold the entire time. Your Halo 3 and Halo 4, both of which do run at full HD, but cannot maintain 60 FPS a lot of the time. I've played through Halo 3 and Halo 4 recently on my Master Chief Collection, and I'd say you're probably talking maybe 60 to somewhere between 60 and 80%. You're getting 60 FPS. It's ridiculous at this point, and there needs to be a sacrifice. People need to stand up for it and make this shit vocal, because I'm not an advocate of resolution gate, and that's not what this video is about, but just developers need to cop on and work within the proper fucking confines of the hardware. Don't think it's like, oh well, we need to put out this amazing blockbuster game the entire time. No, fuck off. Just compromise a little bit and give us a lot more out of it, because if you compromise that little bit, maybe on one or two visual settings, or a slight resolution dip or something like that, give us 60 FPS. That'll be the main thing. If you can bump up the resolution a little bit on top of that and keep that frame rate, do it. Do something proper. Don't give us half-ass ports, don't give us half-ass remasters, and don't give us fucking half-ass games. I'm sick of saying it. I'm not looking forward to this generation, because I hope there's another crash, because this shit needs to stop. And now that's my rant over. So if you let me know what you guys think about the entire situation with not just we won't even talk a little bit about remasters, the quality of them, the apparent either half-ass portedness or just the shitty underpoweredness of the consoles. Let me know your opinions on all of that. I want to see it. I want to read it. I do reply to them when they come in. So just let me know all that stuff down below. So hit the like button if you like the video, and if you agree, hit the subscribe button so you can get easy access to videos like this in the future and everything else on my channel. You can subscribe to me on Twitter. Details in the description below, because that's up and running now. Thank you for watching, and this is Q from Retro Q Gaming, frustrated and signing the fuck out.